Good afternoon. My name is Carol Houts, and I'm the Chief Commercial Officer for Germfree Laboratories. And welcome. You're going to be enjoying a very engaging conversation. I am joined by Alexander from Autolomous, and we're going to talk about Act for Hope. We have some major challenges in the cell and gene space when you think about patient access and you think about cost of therapy and scalability. A lot of these challenges we're all working towards, but not necessarily in a united way. And these challenges are prohibiting access today for cell and gene therapies for patients. So how do we tackle that? And Alexander, you've done some amazing work with Autolomous. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that,
Sure.
And then we'll talk a little bit more about Act for Hope.
You flatter me too much. I've done just my job. So my name is Alexander Seyf. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Autolomous. I think very simple. And the simplicity, I think, always prevails to connect the solutions to major problems.
Yeah.
I feel absolutely privileged to be in this industry because it makes whatever you do, the outcome becomes positive, hopefully, for the patients and people
Right.
you would never know, but you admire anyway as human. I think the major challenge in this industry is we don't talk enough together. We don't, communicate enough about the good things, but also most importantly from things that hasn't been that good or
Right.
the experience that we need to share in order to prevent the mistakes to come up again, to learn from it. They always say you don't learn from the good things, you learn from your mistakes you make.
Right.
And I think by us be able to share that knowledge of experience together, we can prevail much better in our pursuit of success. The science is amazing, but it still hasn't gone to the certain level of maturity as we see other
Right.
industries. And there is it's much important right now that we share the things that hasn't worked for one institution with the other.
Right.
I mean, the things that we can be proud of and we can IP it, that's protected, but why not share the stuff that hasn't worked? The other day I was looking at all the successful innovators and all around, they have done a lot of good stuff, but we know just one of them. But those many stuff that we don't know about made them to create the uniqueness of the invention, like Edison. So what we did and what we are about in Autolomous is really embracing the digital within and democratizing it in different settings within the industry. And one of them is connecting people, breaking silos, trying to share the information between different entities and informing each other about what we do. And out of that, I looked at gathering people from same kind of way of thinking, like you're great yourself. And we created this strategic advisory board, as we call it, SAB, which very much depicts not the strategy of Autolomous, but the strategy of the industry, by having amazing people like yourself to really get together and say, how can we help the industry to be better? How can we make the industry put it in the right path of supporting it, so we can ultimately help the patients in a much more effective way?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. We're here at Facilitate, and there's so much knowledge in this exhibit hall. There's so much technology in everything we do, but the missing piece is we've not brought it together.
Exactly.
And that knowledge sharing will elevate the entire industry, and it'll make us really serve the patients in a different way. I think that's one of the beauties of the collaboration for Act for Hope, is that very quickly we were able to unite a lot of people that can really contribute, and the knowledge sharing is very upfront and foremost and important. Tell me a little bit about what inspired you. What was the day like when Act for Hope came to mind. I've often wondered that, like, what was that moment for you personally?
Yes, it's a very good question.
When you thought that this was necessary?
The only good capability I have, or blessing I have in my life, is I come across good people, like lovely human being. And I was thinking, like a year and a half ago, I said, look, I have this blessing, come across wonderful people, but imagine you gather them together, we can do so much. And we started our strategic advisory by conference call, because we are all around the world, right? And that was not really getting that momentum of closeness, because it's over the screen. So I thought, what we can do is get them under one roof for a weekend. So have a pleasure of enjoying the nature, but also be inspired by being together. And I talked to different people. We have about 30 of members, and they said, getting together is really good. So I said, let's go to Italy. I mean, it inspires all of us. So it was a trial, and it worked very well, because like-minded people got together and started
wonderful
igniting imaginations.
I think that's been one of the core criticisms. We all come to events like Facilitate, ISCT, and many others, but we never truly come together to solve the problems that are facing the industry today. So the Strategic Advisory Board was tasked through Act for Hope to address some of those challenges together. And I hear that, there were some working groups that came out of the meeting in Italy. Tell us a little bit about those working groups and the missions that they've taken on.
The first element of it was, how can we really help the industry, as I said, progress? And we identified 4 core elements. One is around the technology. So as they say in this industry, the process is the product is the process, which arguably there is some criticism around it, but it basically depicts how it works. And if you look at different modalities, they have same kind of processes with different variations. And we wanted to come with some standard baseline, because why do we need to reinvent the wheel when we have the same baseline, common denominator? So that's from technology. Second piece, which we all really facing, the society doesn't know much about cell and gene therapy. A life-saving medicine, the new modality of medicine, has had thousands of people saved lives, and getting on very well in life, and he has shown his efficacy. So educational part is another piece. Then we need to inform the society, and the education is not just the patient, is also physicians, is clinicians, because I was in JP Morgan last week, and one of our colleagues, he said a very good thing. He said, when we develop a therapy, there are 3 things we need to think about: patient, physician, payer. And it looks, obviously, no, it's not obvious, right?
No, it's not.
We need to really be cognizant, because whatever we develop in science need to be practical enough to come to the patient. It needs to be good efficacy around it, from a understanding, from a regulatory perspective, but also from payer perspective. So another piece is around paying. And I said, look, we need to work around it very pragmatically, very simply. We know we have a day job, but we get together, different teams split around 4 different topics, and after 6 months we want to have something tangibly that we can present, to say, working together, this is what you achieve. Doesn't matter if it is big or small, but at least we make the point, working together we can achieve a lot.
To actually come together with some solutions.
Exactly.
And the working groups are all formed with some different perspectives in each one.
Absolutely.
The manufacturing one I thought was quite compelling. There's a lot of data sharing that's built into that. I think we all acknowledge that we're not sharing enough, especially about the process. There's no reason why we should be still talking about process controls and analytical development at the level that we're at today, when data sharing would probably get us a long way.
Solve a lot of problems, yeah.
Talk a little bit about the data sharing element, because I think that's where people can be a bit hesitant to collaborate. And so there's some walls that that the group is really trying to break down around that topic.
I think the data sharing becomes a problem if it's not inbuilt in your processes agnostically and anonymously. So the data sharing becomes a problem if you do it afterwards, because then you don't know what to share or not. But if you segment it in the right way from beginning, you can actually see it does not break any privacy, it does not bring any IP, because that part of it can be shared. So we don't need to share everything, but there are certain pieces that we have to share because it's very objective to our existence, right? So by thinking that I want to share the data, but the right data to share, it just puts a different mindset of doing things. And that's the piece which is very important, right? I mean, I heard that a lot of patient advocacies, they go to patients and say, do you want to share your successes? No, we don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But if you had done it before, they would have been different, right? But now there's a hesitancy that I becomes the subject and I don't want to lose my privacy.
Exactly. So there's also a big education component, and I'd say as an industry, we've been pretty terrible on that front when it comes to educating patients more broadly and clinicians about the opportunity that really is there and the promise of cell and gene therapy products. We recently worked on a grant with some clinicians in California, and I was very surprised to hear that convincing a clinician to take on becoming a physician that administers advanced therapy is very complex. It's very difficult. And part of that is likely the reason is, it just seems there's just too many barriers. So the team talked about that. What are the thoughts around education, and where do you think that one is headed?
Yeah, I think education is very important, and it's something that we have been too scientific about it.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I joined the industry 6 years ago, when I saw this medicine, when I saw the result of it, I said, it cures cancer, it cures different. Yeah. And I said, no, it hasn't been proven, it needs to go 15 years. And I said, I'm not looking at it right or wrong, it's just like, it has cured. People have gained life for additional a day, 6 months, 2 years. And even a healthy person doesn't know if he has another year, right? So why not talking about it? But no, it's scientifically. So we can be scientific. We need to be a little bit emotional about it. We need to give the hope. The more we talk about it and say, it adds quality of life. It adds days, months, hours.
Right.
That's the hope, right?
It is.
So why not educating it so simply? We don't need to educate people in physiology, in medicine, but we can enlighten them and give them hope. And I think that's education, which is very important. Us being vocal in society, us being vocal with people we know, and collating information, people can access it. That's a major part of education, because today we are living in a society that the information flow very easily if you put it out there. So we need to put it out there. We need to show the efficacy of this medicine. We need to show the success of it. But also there is always success and failures.
Right.
But that success element of it is very, very necessary today, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
Oh, let's talk about payers a little bit. There's always this connotation that they're the sort of the evil in the whole thing when it comes to cost and other things, but I do think partnering is incredibly important. Understanding the constraints is important to understanding, like, how do we navigate them. What were the thoughts from the team around the payer question?
Yeah, so we had different feelings about it, but hopefully, thankfully we had somebody who knows more about payer. And
it's complicated.
It's complicated, but I think in a sense it's very logical, right?
Yeah.
payers, they are businesses, right?
Right.
So they don't want to lose unnecessary money, but they don't want to spend too much money,
Right.
so they don't want to put themselves in a too much of risk. So I think that sharing information and create a community from a
Right.
regulatory perspective, from the industry, from scientists, that creates more certainty,
It
right?
does.
So
It
I
does.
remember FDA came out and said there is a risk for CAR T, and that really
Oh, it
put
really
us in the
said-
back foot. And
Yeah.
recently I heard that that was not really good way of doing it,
Right.
and it's not as bad as it sounds. So I think once again comes to the information sharing, to transparency and openness. And the more we are open, the more we are objective with the information that we have in hand,
Right.
the better information is there. So coming back to payers, we believe unanimously out of that payers, if they understand that actually
Absolutely.
there is no second malignancy out of this treatment,
Right.
if it cuts their costs down, if it increases the health of the patients, why shouldn't they do it?
Right.
But there need to be a financial model that supports their
Exactly.
financial model. And once again, it's about education, it's about opening yourself to explaining better, right?
Right.
And fundamentally, I need to just finish with this. I don't believe there are a lot of problems, they don't have solutions. I believe we have more solutions in the world than the problems we're facing. It's a matter of finding the solution and connecting it to the problem. Therefore, you have many solutions to the same problem. But fundamentally, by talking, informing, and having dialogue, you have much better opportunity to find a solution for many, many problems.
Right.
And many solutions for few problems.
So how do you think what do you think software's place is in this mix of solving some of the challenges in this space?
Software brings efficiency. Software brings integrity on repeating the same thing. Software brings certainty of being immune to some of the human errors that can occur, right?
Yeah.
And it brings a good platform to scale up or scale out. And we have seen that vividly in other industries. So why not benefit in this industry from it?
Right.
We have seen it in manufacturing, we have seen it in banking, we have seen it in retail. This is definitely an area we need to benefit more. And we have evolved in technology so much that we can have huge certainty in the things that we do. And right now, the thing which is amazing me, we talk about AI in healthcare, but we haven't even talked about basic of technology. And I'm like, let's take one step at a time, enable ourselves to use the digital properly before we go to AI, because otherwise you have a risk,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so I think technology can bring a lot of certainty and repeatability in the task and minimize the human error. I mean, sheer fact that you spend a lot of time during the manufacturing of cell and gene therapy are calculating things.
Right.
And
Right.
who says that a human can calculate better than a machine? Just automating that and uses software to do that, you gain a lot, right? By making sure that information is transferred 100% from one entity to another, from one point to another, you gain a lot of certainty.
So it's all about the data sharing.
It's all
the
about data
collaboration.
connection. Yeah.
So if you had one goal for the entire group to reach, what would that goal be? You've got the 4 main working groups. If they were to achieve one thing in the next 6 months, what would that be? I know it's a big question.
No. It's a great question. If we all unanimously be convinced, for one example only, I'm not naive enough to think all of this is going to work. But if you come out of it and we say, working together, it's the way I'm going to go forward.
Yep.
One person can change the world because of the belief.
Right.
And if we can propagate that and we can, move the needle of convincing another person that is the right way of doing it, we've achieved a lot.
Yes.
So let's change the world from ourselves,
Wonderful.
one step at a time.
Wonderful. So that's a little bit about Act for Hope, and stay tuned to see
Absolutely.
the
Thank you very much,
amazing
Carol.
work that this group is going to be working on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.